I'm Adrian Seet, and this is Nightline. The top stories. Defence Ministry to remove a middleman of LCS project. And Jokowi orders safety review in wake of deadly Indonesia football stampede. Thanks for joining us. Indonesian President Joko Widodo on Sunday ordered a safety review of the country's football matches following a deadly stampede triggered by clashes between fans and police. The tragedy on Saturday night at Kanjuruhan Stadium in the city of Malang, which left 125 people dead and dozens more injured, was one of the world's deadliest sporting stadium disasters.
Saya juga telah perintahkan kepada Menpora, Kapolri dan Ketua Umum PSSI untuk melakukan evaluasi menyeluruh tentang pelaksanaan pertandingan sepak bola dan juga prosedur pengamanan penyelenggaraannya. Untuk itu, saya juga memerintahkan PSSI untuk menghentikan sementara Liga 1 sampai evaluasi dan perbaikan prosedur pengamanan dilakukan.
Authorities on Sunday said the incident took place when thousands of fans invaded the pitch and police fired tear gas, triggering a stampede. It was understood that Arema FC supporters stormed the pitch after their team lost 3-2 to the visiting team and bitter rivals Persebaya Surabaya. Police, who described the unrest as riots, said they tried to persuade fans to return to the stands and fired tear gas after 2 officers were killed. It was reported that some suffocated in the chaos while others were trampled to death. In light of the tragedy, Indonesia's Football Association suspended the Premier Football League indefinitely and banned Arema from hosting football matches for the remainder of the season.
3 kendaraan polisi dibakar dan 2 dirusak, kemudian 5.
And following the stampede incident in Indonesia, the Football Association of Malaysia FAM will take precautionary measures to tighten entry control into stadiums. FAM Secretary General Nur Azman Rahman said although Malaysia had good security control in stadiums, appropriate measures need to be reviewed to prevent the incident in Indonesia from happening in Malaysia. In addition, he said FAM would also review all standard operating procedures, SOPs, on the entry of supporters into stadiums. Nur Azman said the incident in Indonesia should serve as a lesson for Malaysian football fans to display a high spirit of sportsmanship and learn to accept defeat when attending any match.
Dua belas pasukan berentak demi menjulang Piala Idaman. Kami bawakan kepada anda perlawanan tumpuan Liga Super 2022. Hanya di TV 9 dan Astro 149.
The Defence Ministry is in the midst of removing middlemen involved in the Littoral Combat Ships LCS project to reduce the cost of the vessels. Senior Defence Minister Datuk Sri Hishamuddin Tun Hussein said the termination would enable Buletin Naval Shipyard Sdn Bhd to negotiate directly with local vendors and original equipment manufacturers. In a statement, Datuk Sri Hishamuddin said the process of terminating the middlemen is being carried out actively and the termination is expected to reduce the cost of shipping equipment that would need to be paid to vendors. Following this, he said Buletin Naval Shipyard had completed the negotiations with 145 local vendors and 42 foreign original equipment manufacturers. Those involved in the equipment and primary system of the LCS has also agreed to support the collaboration to continue the project, which would take at least another 2 years for it to be completed. Datuk Sri Hishamuddin said the parties involved have been given 14 months for the construction of the ship after the mobilization phase ends in December. The duration, he said, is realistic considering that the ship needs to undergo the harbour acceptance test and sea acceptance trial. In the meantime, Bastard Naval Shipyard is also actively negotiating with 9 banking institutions for debt restructuring, and the result is expected to be completed during the mobilization phase. The acquisition of the LCS and a second batch of littoral mission ships LMS are equally important and necessary to defend the country's sovereignty. Navy Chief Admiral Tan Sri Muhammad Reza Muhammad Sani said the priority of the 2 types of ships cannot be compared because they have different functions and roles. Tan Sri Muhammad Reza said that the defence sector was the country's insurance and the government should make the necessary defence investments. He also voiced his concern about the Navy assets that were obsolete with limited budget for maintenance of existing assets. According to him, the Navy previously had 16 warships of various sizes, but the number decreased significantly when the majority of the ships lost their combat capability due to the outdated equipment and weapons systems. Despite these challenges and threats, the Navy remained focused on its mission of defending Malaysia's sovereignty and maritime interests. Following UMNO's decision for the 15th general election, GE15, to be held this year, the party's Secretary-General said he was confident the Cabinet's opinion had already been obtained as the UMNO Supreme Council was told of a Cabinet meeting regarding the matter. Dato Sri Ahmad Mazlan said the decision to hold GE15 this year was also made by Prime Minister Dato Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, who is also UMNO Vice President. Dato Sri Ahmad added that as the Prime Minister was one of the party's top leaders, joint decisions had to be made. He said since the Prime Minister is from UMNO, the party's leaders had expressed their position regarding GE15. Dato Sri Ahmad noted that it is the Prime Minister who will be going to the Yang di-Pertuan Agong to get approval for the dissolution of Parliament. It is for this reason, according to the UMNO Secretary-General, that UMNO makes decisions that leads towards GE15 and not other parties. And towards preparations for GE15, Dato Sri Ahmad said that the party's special meeting will take place on Tuesday. Besides the party president, Dato Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi and the Prime Minister, the meeting at the Kuala Lumpur World Trade Centre will involve all UMNO leaders as well as the youth, women and Puteri wings. 764 party representatives representing 191 UMNO divisions from all over the country will be attending on Tuesday. UMNO has 3 conditions if PAS wants to cooperate in the 15th general election GE15. Its president, Dato Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, said these conditions include a PAS leaving the Perikatan Nasional PN coalition and severing ties with Parti Pribumi Bersatu Malaysia Bersatu. He said past President Tan Sri Abdul Hadi Awang is aware of the conditions and the negotiations can go ahead only when the party fulfilled those terms. Dato Sri Ahmad Zahid noted that no official or high-level meetings had been held with PAS on any GE15 collaboration until now. The long-standing issues related to illegal immigrants in Sabah will be resolved through digital registration efforts. State Chief Minister Dato Sri Hajiji Noor said the data collected would also ensure that they had valid documents whereby action could be taken against those who were undocumented under existing laws. Dato Sri Hajiji said the state government will focus on document standardizations to ensure that all those in Sabah are properly documented. And that is after the data digitalization is resolved. He also stressed that the Sabah government would not compromise in efforts to improve security in the state, which was crucial considering Sabah had borders with several neighbouring countries. He said Sabah, as the second largest state in Malaysia, was exposed to all kinds of threats. Amongst them are illegal immigrants, intrusion by foreign fishermen, international borders and citizenship issues. Dato Sri Hajiji pointed out the move to establish General Operations Force checkpoints at strategic areas in the interiors of Sabah was not only the right move, but also a proactive measure to stop external threats. He also said the state government will give their full cooperation to ensure the security and sovereignty of Sabah is protected. The Sabah government also supports all the Home Ministry's efforts to improve infrastructure, security and enforcement agency assets. The final report of the Special Task Force reviewing laws related to the sovereignty of Pulau Batu Putih, Middle Rocks and South Ledge will be tabled before the Cabinet on October the 7th. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Parliament and Law, Datuk Sri Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar, said that the final report contains recommendations to the government regarding the issue. In a statement on Sunday, he said the government was committed to ensuring the sovereignty of the nation's maritime borders are preserved and prioritized always. He explained that the Special Task Force, which comprises lawyers who handled this case from 2016 to 2017, legal practitioners, maritime surveyors and representatives of relevant ministries, had completed the task entrusted based on the set terms of reference, focusing on legal aspects and Malaysia-Singapore relations. He said throughout the period, various approaches were implemented by the Special Task Force. This includes examining and reviewing documentation and related materials, holding a series of discussions and work visits at home and abroad, consultations with legal experts and external hydrographers, and interviewing identified individuals. Malaysia has access to several local economists as a support mechanism in managing the country's economic progress. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Economy, Dato Sri Mustafa Mohamad, said the government also received the services of local experts such as corporate figures and related parties, as well as international representatives from, amongst others, the World Bank and the United Nations, UN, to help stabilize the national economy and to ensure its economic development plans were on the right track. Dato Sri Mustafa said Malaysia has international agencies such as the World Bank and the UN Office, as well as government agencies, private companies and universities to refer to. He was commenting on former Finance Minister Tengku Razali Hamzah's proposal that foreign economists be appointed to stop the ringgit from falling in value if the government was incapable of doing so. He said that, until today, the economic growth chart had shown a healthy trend, despite the challenging economic conditions. Dato Sri Mustafa stressed that there were signs that the economy this year will have no problems in terms of growth. He pointed out that the unemployment rate used to be 5.3%, but now it is at 3.7%. Generally, according to the minister, Malaysia's economy is recovering. Dato Sri Mustafa also noted that despite the challenging environment, the government will continue to interact and hold engagement sessions with all parties. When we come back, dozens dead in tractor-trailer crash. Stay with us. We're back with news from the foreign front. In India, a tractor-trailer carrying religious pilgrims overturned and plunged into a pond on Saturday night, killing at least 26 people and leaving 16 others seriously injured. According to authorities, the incident occurred in the city of Kanpur, in the northern state of Uttar Pradesh, while the trailer packed with nearly 50 pilgrims was returning from a ceremony at a nearby local Hindu temple. Most of those killed in the accident were women and children. The cause of the accident is still under investigation. In the meantime, Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed his condolences, announcing that the local administration will be providing all possible assistance to those affected. Brazilians are voting on Sunday in the first round of their country's most polarized election in decades, with leftist Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva favoured to beat right-wing incumbent Jair Bolsonaro. It was understood that most polls were shown Lula with a solid lead for months, but Bolsonaro signalled he may refuse to accept defeat, stoking fears of institutional crisis or post-election violence. If Lula wins more than 50% of valid votes, which several pollsters show within reach, he could clinch an outright victory, foregoing a second-round vote. In the case that no candidate wins more than half of the votes, excluding blank and spoiled ballots, the top two finishers will go to an October 30th runoff, prolonging the tense campaign season. The winner would be announced within hours after polling stations close at 5 p.m. local time. Brazilians are also voting on Sunday for all 513 members of the lower chamber of Congress, a third of the 81 members of the Senate and state governors and legislatures. Ukraine on Sunday announced they had retaken the key eastern town of Liman, located in one of the 4 Ukrainian regions that Russia annexed, with President Volodymyr Zelensky pledging more areas would follow within the week. The recapture of Liman, which Moscow's forces pummeled for weeks to control this spring, would mark the first Ukrainian military victory in territory that the Kremlin has claimed as its own and has vowed to defend by all possible means. Ukraine's defense ministry announced its forces were entering Liman in the eastern Donetsk region after the army said it had encircled several thousand Russian troops near the town. Shortly after Kyiv's announcement on Liman, Russia's defense ministry said it had withdrawn troops from the town to a more favorable line. With Russian losses mounting, experts have warned that President Vladimir Putin could turn to nuclear weapons to defend territory, an option floated by a Putin ally. sports, tennis. Yoshihito Nishioka stunned fourth seed Denis Shapovalov 6-4, 7-6, 7-5 to win at the Korea Open on Sunday for his second ATP title. Nishioka was neck and neck in the first set against Canada's Shapovalov until he broke in the 10th game to take the first set. Shapovalov was also chasing a second title, took the upper hand early in the second set. But the 27-year-old Nishioka bounced back, levelling the set and then powering on to win the match and the title on the tie-break. The Japanese player is set to rise to a career-high 41 after adding the sole crown to his triumph at the 2018 Shenzhen Open in China. Japan's top men's player will next participate in the Japan Open in Tokyo this week. On to football. SC Freiburg's winning streak continued after the international break with a 2-1 home win against Mainz in the Bundesliga on Saturday. Freiburg sprinted to a 2-0 halftime lead thanks to goals from Michael Gregoritz and Daniel Kofi Kiri, but should have been further ahead and endured some nervy moments late after Mainz' Aaron Carrico scored in the second half. Mainz came close to earning a draw deep into added time, but fell to their third defeat in their last 5 games. The victory drew Freiburg level with Union Berlin on 17 points at the top of the table, although Freiburg trailed on goal difference. Earlier, Borussia Dortmund squandered a 1-goal lead and blew a chance to move to the top of the German Bundesliga standings on Saturday, after losing 3-2 away to Cologne. England international Jude Bellingham, Dortmund's captain of the day, set up a 31st-minute opener for Julian Brandt, but Florian Kainz levelled the score and then set up another goal for Stefan Tigges in the space of a 3-second half minute. Dejan Lubicic consolidated Cologne's lead in the 71st minute, and although a Benno Schmidt own goal 7 minutes later brought Dortmund back into the game, Cologne held on to win for only the second time in 7 Bundesliga fixtures. More to come after this breather. Over 10 million ringgit worth of illicit cigarettes seized in Johor. Stay tuned. Police collected 1.38 million ringgit in summon payments during a 3-day program which offered a 50% discount for traffic compounds. State Police Chief Datuk Kamarul Zaman Mamat said the amount involved 12,799 summonses, with Muar District recording the highest payment at 192,020 ringgit, followed by Batu Pahat at 170,880 ringgit and Johor Bahru at 141,370 ringgit. Singaporeans were also allowed to settle their summonses at all district traffic police stations. So far, 26 summonses totaling 5,300 ringgit have been settled by Singaporeans, and police will continue to encourage them to pay up just like Johorians. According to him, 2.23 million traffic summonses with an estimated value of 340 million ringgit were recorded by Johor Police between 2018 and August of this year. Of the total, 109,758 summonses involved Singaporean drivers. The Johor Customs Department has seized more than 9 million sticks of contraband cigarettes worth over 10 million ringgit found inside a 40-foot container from China at the port of Tanjung Pelepas, PTP. Its director Sazali Mohamad said his men seized the container at the Customs Inspection Bay at about 11:20 a.m. on September 22nd. It was reported that the container was from China and transited through PTP before heading to its final destination, the Kota Kinabalu port, which was declared in its manifest. Sazali said checks on its manifest found declarations for various goods such as garden tools, banners, faucets, lighting, computer accessories, tools, electric grills, bakery equipment and baby carriages. The container was ordered to be further checked through a scanner, and the resulting image showed the contents differed from the manifest, prompting a more thorough check to be carried out. A further check on the container in the presence of 2 representatives from the shipping company found that it contained 9.18 million sticks of cigarettes believed to have been imported from China. Sazali added that the modus operandi of the smuggling syndicate is to make a false declaration through the manifest when the import is made and make PTP as a transshipment location before being sent to another location, hoping to go unnoticed by Malaysian authorities. The case is being investigated under Regulation 18 of the Free Zone Amendment Regulations 2019 and Section 135 Subsection 1 Subsection A of the Customs Act 1967. In the US, hot air balloons filled the Albuquerque Square on Saturday as the 50th edition of the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta kicked off in New Mexico. The International Fiesta is a yearly 9-day festival that takes place in the first week of October with over 600 hot air balloons and 700 pilots participating each year, flying different shaped balloons. Let's take a look at the festival as we wrap up Nightline this time around. With that, I'm Adrian Seet. Thank you for watching and stay safe.